I define trust as a judgment of confident reliance on a person, group, or organization when there is vulnerability, risk, and uncertainty. Okay? Now, a couple things about that. So my argument is that we make judgments about trust. We make trust decisions. In fact, the title of the book is The Decision to Trust. And actually, from the science of trust in social psychology and anthropology and sociology, we actually know what people consider when they decide to trust or to distrust. Second thing is, trust is an issue when there's uncertainty. When things are completely predictable, we don't think about trust. How many people here this morning showered? I know it's kind of a personal question, right? Most of you raised your hands. It's okay if you didn't raise your hand. It's totally fine. But I want you to think back to when you got in the shower and you reached to turn the water on. How many of you in this room thought, gee, I wonder if this thing will explode? Anybody? If you raise your hand, we have a separate room for you. Because most normal human beings, we don't think about, gee, can I trust the water faucet? Right? If we did, we'd probably not be able to get through the average day. Right? It's certain. We know, I do this, right? Now, in some parts of the world, when you start your car, you have to worry. And fortunately, in the United States, for the most part, you start your car, you don't think about trust. But when there's uncertainty, we start to say, well, gee, can I trust that person? This company's downsizing. Well, who's making the decisions? Where are they meeting? And who's in those conversations? And do I feel comfortable being vulnerable in their hands? That's what trust is about. When you trust, you feel comfortable. You say, you know what, the outcome may not be the perfect, but I feel comfortable that I'm going to be fairly represented. I sort of trust in this uncertain environment. One of the reasons why trust is such an issue today is so much uncertainty. Now, let's talk about the science of trust. Now, this is a model in the book, and if you really want to understand this a little bit better, you can sort of read the book. And I'm going to not talk about all of this, but I'm just going to talk about this piece in general. The top of this model identifies 3 trustor factors. The trustor is the person who's deciding to trust or be suspicious. Now, we know that us human beings vary in our disposition and capacity to trust. How many of you know people who trust everybody? Right? And how many of you know people that trust nobody? There we go. The wonderful variation of human behavior. Now, I'll give you 3 things that are going to help you figure out whether somebody has a low or high disposition to trust. By the way, this varies globally also. If you were to ask people in, let's say, Norway, the following question, to what degree do you think most people can be trusted? What percent of the people do you think say, yeah? High? It's about 70%. If you were to come to the United States and survey 2,000, 3,000 people, what percent do you think would say, yeah, most people can be trusted? 25? 10? Whoa. About 40%. What about Brazil? Chile? 10. Now you're right. 10. Trust varies around the world. If you're dealing with candidates in Latin America, don't assume that they're necessarily going to trust you. By the way, it has nothing to do with you, the trustee. It has to do with their culture. So it's important. We sometimes think that trust is always about the relationship. But the top of this model says no. Some parts of whether someone trusts or distrusts has to do with the individual.